Love that can quickly seize the gentle heart took hold of him because of the fair body taken from me. How that was done still wounds me, Francesca says. The point that I want to stay with for just a second, love that can quickly seize the gentle heart is the beginning of a sonnet that Dante wrote, and she's seducing him by his own poetry. It's an absolutely magnificent, intricate, subtle witness to the power of lust. She repeats in quick succession, which reminds me of a form of incantation, the word love. In the English translation, love that can quickly seize, love that releases no beloved, love led the two of us unto one death. This is Francesca to Dante. Dante becomes so engaged through such a verbal seduction that Virgil turns to him in bewilderment and asks, "What are you thinking?" And Dante seems to come out of a reverie and, ignoring Virgil and Paolo, speaks directly to Francesca, and listen to what he says to her. "Francesca, your afflictions move me to tears of sorrow and of pity." Now watch that pity, it's a sand trap. Followed quickly by a request to hear the details of the story. Tell me more. Geez, I'm feeling really bad for you, but I don't think I've got the whole story yet. To which she in turn obliges. She recounts their reading, Paolo and she, of a medieval romance, Lancelot and Guinevere. How love had overcome him, she says. We were alone and we suspected nothing. And time again, that reading led our eyes to meet and made our faces pale, and yet one point alone defeated us. End of quote. Through the power of story to ignite their own physical love, Paolo leans over to kiss Francesca in imitation of the passage they have just read in which Lancelot kisses Guinevere. Francesca, however, is quick to blame the book for their inflamed transgression. With one of the great understatements I think is present in all of literature, she says, "That day we read no more." So powerful was the fiction to move in both lovers the desire to create it in reality. Most all of us know that from the blueprint to the bedroom, there is never an exact match. All right, so you didn't get that one, so I'm going to read that sentence again. Most all of us know that from the blueprint to the bedroom, there is never an exact match. All right, good. I got a few faces on that one, so I know it's registered. Dante, listening in complete rapture, feels the glow of Eros ignite in him at this story. Now he's turned on. He's in lust, which it is not a stretch of the imagination, I believe, that he's anticipating the meeting of his former love, Beatrice, which will occur at the top of Mount Purgatory in the earthly Garden of Eden. So the complexity psychologically of this is just so rich. He is not only remembering her, he's anticipating her. And the story of Paolo and Francesca has got his furnace running at full heat, yes. Whom he recalls with great ardor, that emotion, coupled with the pity he feels for the speaking and weeping couple before him, what does he do? Like a good horny lover, he passes out. I fainted as if I had met my death. And then, in case we didn't hear it, and then I fell as a dead body falls. So he passes out overwhelmed by the story, by Francesca's story, and by the anticipated story of Beatrice yet to be. It's absolutely magnificent. He is betwixt past and future, which is where love often situates us. Sometimes in paralysis, and at others at an instant of breakthrough. The complexity of this layering of text over subtext over subtext is richly emotional and psychologically thick. In Civilization in Transition, because you're a group of closet Jungians coming out slowly, we've got to bring CG into the complex. Here's what Jung writes. Love is always a problem, and we'll let that be his understatement for the evening. Whatever our age may be, love is a force of destiny whose power reaches from heaven to hell. It's like he just read Paolo and Francesca and then went to write this observation. He goes on to suggest that fewer instinctual and emotional impulses in the human being can surpass those that love witnesses. Love, believes Jung, and this is a quote, is not confined to any particular province, but covers every aspect of human life. It may be an ethical, a social, a psychological, a philosophical, an aesthetic, a religious, a medical, a legal, a physiological problem. 9, to name only a few aspects of this many-sided phenomenon. Touch the web of love, and I think our whole existence vibrates. Yet love in its fullest expression is an umbrella huge enough to cover all the landscape from heaven to hell. Interesting enough, and excuse me, let me just take a quick sip. I've been reading the Red Book since it's been published. I treat myself to 3 pages a morning. And if you've seen the Red Book, that takes over an hour, because the Red Book's about 45 pounds and probably 10,000 words on a page. Jung was reading the Divine Comedy starting October 1913 into 1914. And according to Shamdasani, the editor of the Red Book, copious notes in Inferno, copious notes in Purgatorio. Then goes on to say, I have to be honest here, I can't recall if it's Shamdasani who says this in a footnote or if Jung says it and he paraphrases Jung. But the upshot of it is, Jung said, I structured the Red Book around 2 texts, Nietzsche's Zarathustra and Dante's Divine Comedy. My point in bringing that up is to link in your imagination Dante with Jung. Go to the index of the collected works of Jung, look up Dante or Divine Comedy or Beatrice. It is astonishing the number of references you'll see peppered throughout the collected works. So this poem, Dante's poem, had a huge influence on Jung's own psychology. Okay, so Jung, one more quote. Jung goes to the German poet Goethe, one of the most, as you know, one of the most influential writers on him, to allow another voice in verse to convey love's complexity and ubiquity. This is Goethe's, lines from Goethe's poem.